Welcome to the Beer Taster's Notebook, the show dedicated to learning about beer. I'm Jonathan Thompson, advanced cicerone, beer judge, home brewer, and beer writer. Okay, welcome back to the Beer Taster's Notebook, episode 11, on lactones. This might be the shortest episode in this podcast ever, partly because it shouldn't take too long, and partly because my body is firing on all cylinders trying to fight some type of magic mystery virus. Okay, so lactones, they're pretty small, but they can pack a big punch, and they have a very low sensory threshold, like in the micro and nanogram per liter levels. So the main lactone-derived aromas that we're likely to experience are coconut, creamy pineapple, a sort of a wood aroma, vanilla, and then some stone fruits like peach or apricot, but also, more creamy than their normal expression, if that makes sense. So coconut is going to be the most likely form, and it's usually the most dominant. Okay, so what are they? So a lactone is a cyclic ester. That doesn't mean it's an ester, though, as far as we're concerned. So remember, an ester is an alcohol married to a fatty acid. In this case, though, it is the esterification of a hydroxy acid. So basically, you have a molecule with a hydroxyl group, so that's an oxygen and a hydrogen, and a carboxylic acid, which is a carbon, two oxygens, and a hydrogen. So the hydroxyl group will attack the carbon, water is eliminated, the ring snaps closed, and you have a cyclic ester, which is a lactone. So size matters here, ring size that is, of course. The gamma lactones, which are the most common in beer, have a 5-member ring. The delta have a 6-carbon ring. And then there are more lactones, of course, but that's sort of outside the realm of beer, so we don't need to worry about those. A big part of why they're so important is that they're kind of like the core of the core, as they say, or the fruit of the fruit. Maybe that doesn't make a lot of sense, but how about this? They make fruit fruitier. So they basically improve and boost the character of very specific aromas. For example, in combination of isoamyl acetate, which is that banana ester, we'll get a tropical expression, for lack of a better term. Vanillin and gamma-nonylactone will give us this sweeter impression. And then when the thiol-3-MH marries up with gamma-nonylactone again, we get like a creamy passion fruit aroma. So I guess in other words, as powerful as they may be alone, they don't walk alone. Okay, so how are they formed exactly? So they're derived from malt via the fatty acids. Fermentation contributes very little in the way of inception, but it is a big player in transformation. And then wood in general, but especially oak, so barrel aging will contribute to the lactones as well. So let's start with the malt. So the unsaturated fatty acids, linoleic, linolenic, and oleic acids are oxidized by the enzyme lipoxygenase. And in some cases, oxidation happens during storage or on the hot side. And so then HPOD reductase reduces these to hydroxy fatty acids. The yeast beta oxidizes that chain, so in effect shortening it, and then they're cyclized into gamma or delta lactones. So exposure to oxygen, the freshness of the malt, the kiln temperature and time, and the enzymatic activity all play factors here. On the fermentation side, the yeast is not synthesizing these compounds, as I mentioned before, but they're through autolysis, which is the yeast cell death. They can release fatty acids, which then can, obviously oxidize, and then this whole process can take place. Through oxygen scavenging, that can have an effect on lipid oxidation as well. And as mentioned, they are in control of redox. So now let's move on to wood, which is another one of the big guns. So the aging process is sort of a double-edged sword here. On the one hand, when oxidation is kept on a leash, we get an increase in favorable gamma lactones and ergo enhanced creamy fruitiness. When let loose, we can get soapy, rancid, waxy characters through overoxidation. This is bad news, of course. So the wood pathway is actually quite different as well. And so endemic to oak are these glycosidically bound precursors. And so it's a hydroxy acid bonded to a sugar, which is usually glucose, and they're stored in the cell walls of the wood. And so as this wood dries out, endogenous enzymes hydrolyze these to glycosides. Various microbes release glycones, and oxidation converts some lipids to hydroxy acids. So during toasting, the glycosides are broken thermally, and now we have this free hydroxy acid precursor, which can be cyclized. So it's a 3-methyl-4-hydroxyoctanoic acid, if you wanted to know. It's actually the methyl branch that differentiates these lactones from what we get from the malt. And then the ethanol will then pull these into the beer as a solvent, right? And so that's how we get them in there. And then now this ring can close in the same manner And then we get these oak lactones or beta methyl gamma lactones, which have two stereoisomers, which means that there's the structure the same, but they have a different arrangement. And we've experienced this, of course, with alpha acids and them dissolving in the beer and how they isomerize. So these are the cis and trans forms. The cis form gives us that sweeter, creamy, or coconut kind of character. And then the trans form is more woody, if that's a good descriptor. So American oak leans more towards cis than French. So, of course, more coconut. Toast level, of course, matters as well. So the lighter toasting means lower expression and sort of a fresher medium aroma. A medium toast gives a good vanilla coconut balance. And then super toasted is just going to degrade a lot of stuff. And so it makes things a little bit more smoky, phenolic, and really less attractive overall. Okay, so just to talk about what we can do here. So to boost lactone expression, you should use well-kilned malt, control oxygen exposure, and age in wood, especially oak and especially American oak. Brett is massively helpful too as an oxygen scavenger, if you're willing to obviously to impart some Brett character there. And then to keep lactones at bay, if they're not desired, fresher malt, controlling the oxygen again, but of course on the side of restraint, faster fermentation times, and then cold storage are all key. In other words, we really want to just control the fatty acid precursors, restrict oxidation of any kind, and then reduce the opportunities for the yeast to start working on those products. Okay, so let's just quickly wrap up here with the lactones commonly found in beer. So gamma nonylactone is the major one. That's the toasted coconut flesh. Gamma decalactone is that creamy stone fruit, often found in saisons and Belgian blondes, and to a degree, some English ales. And then gamma octalactone is that creamy pineapple, not like ethyl butyrate, so not that kind of sulfury pineapple. And then the oak lactones are really big in the barrel-aged especially stouts, but any barrel-aged beer or anything that's been oaked. So I did say it would be quick, and it was a little longer than I thought, but I am going to go and drink some water now. Thank you for listening, and until next time, stay thirsty and stay curious.